Okay, it is 10 o'clock. We're going to call this meeting to order. Certify that we do have a quorum. All 5 members are present. Item number 3 is pledges. Commissioner Gary Hallwell, will you lead us in the pledges? And following that, Ricky, would you mind leading us in a prayer?
You're going to let him go first, right? Not follow.
Yeah, the prayer is number 2, so let me rephrase that. I don't know why it's at the bottom of the page. So let's go in reverse order the way we always do.
Let's pray together. Father, we thank you today for the privilege that we have to be here and to serve the citizens of this county. I pray, Lord, that you would help us today, give us wisdom and guidance in the decisions that are made here. Help this Commissioners Court as they work their way through this difficult time that we're in. I pray, Lord, that you'd help all of us to be what you want us to be. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, gentlemen. I was just making sure everybody was awake and paying attention this morning before we got going. Item number 5 is public comments. We do have 2 people that signed up for public comments. The first one is Harry Maddox. Do you wish to speak in public comments? Okay. If you don't mind coming up to the microphone, please.
Thank you, Judge. My name is Harry Maddox. I'm the Senior Critical Communications Consultant for L3 Harris. And I'm here today to talk about item number 10. You're going to address the RFP. And I just wanted to reiterate that L3 Harris is very interested in what y'all have going for the radio communications project. We are here to fully participate. There was a newspaper article that was published last Thursday that kind of gleaned that we may not be as interested, and it was quoted that, we probably won't participate moving further, and I wanted to show up today to make sure you knew that we were very interested in what the county was doing for the radio communications project, and that we are here to help support you and guide you to a new radio system, and we hope that you take it into consideration that we are looking out for your best interest. We supplied a RFP response based upon the information that was published for a VHF system, and during that response, we discovered that there was self-induced interference from what y'all were trying to accomplish. Two of the 4 of the 10 frequencies that were going to be used were going to be causing interference to yourself. So that caused a pause, and you guys went out and looked for additional frequencies, which I think you did find some VHF frequencies. So in our response, we replied compliant with some exceptions to the VHF and gave you a VHF proposal. But we also gave you an alternate proposal for 700 megahertz, which is a frequency band that is designed and designated for public safety by the FCC. And that design actually proves to show that your communications would be greatly improved by considering 700 megahertz. And we're hoping today that you take that into consideration as you move forward with your thought process of how you want to proceed with your purchase of your VHF system or your new radio system. We'd like you to take us fully into consideration and let you know that we are fully participating in the RFP, and we would really like to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And next up, we do have Jason, is it LaForge?
Yes, sir. I'm Jason LaForge. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning. With L3 Harris, I'm the regional sales manager. My main thing that I want to talk about, the talking point here, is that we've worked with a lot of counties, even in Texas, and we've migrated several of them from VHF to 7800, and that was from our perception was something that you guys should at least look at. So my request would be for an oral presentation from all participating vendors to this court to brief you and show you what we're talking about, what we're discussing, because that's been pretty customary. So I'm just here before you guys move forward to request and ask that you do give us a chance to come in and show the court what solutions and what we do offer. There was the news article that came out that had some information in it that what I didn't quite understand, and so it was a big reason why I wanted to show up today to talk to you all. So I appreciate you guys giving me a little bit of your time.
Thank you, sir. Next item is the consent agenda, which is item number 6. Anybody have anything they wish to pull?
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda by Commissioner John Clement.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leon Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item number 7 is deliberate and consider possible approval of Treasurer's Monthly Report.
So move.
We have a motion by Commissioner Leon Clement.
Second.
Second by Commissioner John Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item number 8 is deliberate and consider possible approval of rental contract with Bain Machinery for a Dynapack roller for precinct, Road and Bridge Precinct 1. Commissioner Hollowell, you want to talk about this?
That's rental for 30 days only. That's not any lease purchase or long-term lease agreement, 30 days only. $4,500, move to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hollowell.
Second.
Second by Commissioner John Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item number 9 is deliberate and consider possible approval of road donation agreement and acceptance of $1,800 donation for Cheney Road Residents Group for paving of a portion of Cheney Road in Precinct 2. Commissioner Snuggs?
Just a group of residents have gotten together for me to pave a portion of this Cheney Road that's already got a lot of base rock and can just basically be paved, so just needed to make it formal to accept the money. I move to approve.
Have a motion by Commissioner Snuggs.
I'll second.
Have a second by Commissioner Leon Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item number, Snuggs. Item number 10 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding radio communications RFP. We've had this on, I think this is the third court that we've talked about it. We spent a good considerable amount of time last court talking about the process and kind of how we got to now. But I didn't know if we had anything new to discuss today.
Any revelations from last week?
Kind of what I'm asking guys, if you got any other thoughts or. Tom, I know I appreciate you coming back up to the conversation that the public comments just a little bit ago on the 700 megahertz, just for topic conversation.
Yeah.
If we went with a 700 megahertz frequency, then we'd have to change out all existing radios.
Yes, sir.
That was mine.
And you're going to have to change out 3/4.
But we're changing out a big chunk of them anyway.
Exactly. We thought that, I was talking with Keith, and we thought Harris brought up a great point. What we could do is, the committee, you guys, obviously, the commission, had a bunch of questions the last few meetings. We could come up with all your questions and concerns. We can go back to both vendors, get kind of a best and final, and then allow the vendors to offer proposals to your key stakeholders to answer, do question and answer with them, and then have them rescore the proposals if that would help with your comfort level. We think that's not it's not a invalid procedure.
I was wondering about that too. I didn't know with the bidding process, if we were allowed to do that, have them.
Yeah, anything you do with one, you have to do with the other, so.
Right, as long as we're fair and offer both, yeah.
We could reject all bids and start over.
We could.
I know somebody said that we only had one choice, but that's not true. Everybody brings, whatever we're purchasing something, they bring the bids up here, and we have the full authority granted to us by the laws of the state of Texas. Where did I get that from? I hear that from you, to reject all bids and start over if we're not happy. And that, I don't know. What do you
Well, I
think?
shared concerns last week, and I was basically told we had, 2 two good applicants, we have the right to refuse the bids. And as far as committees, I think there's some research done this past week. We were correct in our assessment last week that we didn't authorize a committee, we didn't create a committee, we didn't name a committee.
There was a working group of those that were actively involved that was discussed, but we didn't authorize and give them any real direction out of a court directive.
And then the other thing I think that's clarified is that we circumvented our auditor's office and our purchasing department. Based on those things, I'd make the motion we reject them all and start over.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hollowell to reject both proposals.
Second.
Second by Commissioner John Clement. Some discussion, what I'd like to do is let's have a workshop and talk about the 700 megahertz discussion and maybe revise our proposal and revise our process when in the process of putting it back out.
You know, I think we need to strongly consider 700 or 800. I was thinking 800 was law enforcement or
Well, and when I say 700, that's what I mean, 700, 800.
we need to consider possibly the 700 or 800. And if we're going to purchase radios, we need to look at, I'm under the understanding, maybe radios out there that will accommodate both VHF and 800 and go try to do this right.
We also, seeing radios 100 watt versus 50 watt, I don't know if that has any factor with what we're doing with our system today.
If we go with a 100 watt unit, can we get by with less infrastructure on towers? Don't know. And I don't know that that's going to matter if we go to 700 or 800 either. So
I think there's a lot of moving parts to it, but I'm supportive of that rejection as long as we are intent on coming back and still focusing on the on having a project and
Oh, I think
addressing that need.
we've always been focused on having a project. We just haven't had a whole lot of communication about it except an email every once in a while. And guys, I'm telling you, email's great for notification, but if you want some discussion about something, whether you're picking carpet tile, sorry, Rick, no matter what you're doing, you need to have a workshop, you need to have a meeting and get in front of people and discuss it one-on-one. And I'm not saying we were cut out of it, but to walk in here with that kind of proposal that's going to range anywhere from $1.5 to $4.5 million over the next 7 years and say, here it is, you've got to make a decision today and you really only have one choice, that sends up more red flags than anything. So it's been a communication problem. I know there's some folks that think we need to just move on to this and vote. We need to move on and vote correctly. So that's my speech.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item number 11 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding the HAVA grant. And I got this information at sometime Friday afternoon, finally got the information from the state on this. So I know Pam and Shelley were both on a webinar early last week on some of this. Shelley, you mind giving us a brief on what kind of potential funding we're looking at coming down over the next, well, immediately and then over the next few weeks or months?
What you received Friday was the 2020 CARES Act. Is for elections. It has a 20% match, and it's for the time period of March 28th, 2020, and it ends 11/30/2020. And it is supposed to take care of voting processes, staffing, security and training, communications and supplies, PPE, partitions, and laptops.
Pam, what do you think?
And in the laptops category, they said poll books could be included. And also, part of it was voter, I can't think of the terminology. So I asked Brandy real quick what she got from that data, and basically hers is just storage. So I don't know if it'll cover that or not, but I don't know if Pam can get reimbursed from the state for her PPE or hand sanitizer and things like that. Then we can use all of this for poll books.
What did you get out of it? Yeah. We can use it for the poll books?
About 6,000 on all the COVID.
She needs to have her microphone.
Yeah, you do have your microphone.
For the COVID supplies, I've spent about 6,000 on tables, so I think we can use all that, right, Shelley? And then if we could, wanted to order some poll books.
Is this HAVA money tied to COVID?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they're calling this the 2020 CARES Act. And according to the application, we're getting $39,700 and something, and we have a $7,000 match. So that's $45,000 we have to spend.
Yeah, and then there's 2 additional funding streams.
Immediately after this money comes 2018 HAVA money, which can be used on equipment, and all of this money is retro. If we've already bought something, we can go back
As long
in
as
the
it's in
time
that
frame,
time frame,
right?
yeah.
But this money is COVID-related
This
money.
particular one right here.
So if you don't spend it for COVID-related, it has to go back? Or-
Well, but on the equipment, if we're buying new election equipment, they'll pay for it,
No matter what?
no matter what.
We can finish buying out our machines.
But so that's what I thought so is buying the machines COVID related?
Well, the 18 HAVA money goes back to March 23rd of 2018. So what we bought recently, we can get reimbursed. That's $40,000 with no match. And then the 2020 HAVA money, the HAVA money is not COVID. The 2020 CARES money, which y'all are voting on today, is COVID related. The 2020 HAVA money is retro back to 12/21 of 2019, and that's for equipment. Also, we're getting $80,000 with a 20% match. And every county is getting the 40 and the 80,000. But we have to make this initial application, and the resolution that goes with this application is sufficient for the 18 and 20 HAVA money also.
So that's the reason that information is included in the packet?
So that's, the information in the packet is the information. If you downloaded the packet Friday and not Thursday, you got the updated packet with the updated information that we got on Friday. There is somewhere in there it actually specifies, or maybe in the email specifies what has to be in the resolution, and I've got a copy of that here.
Because I'm showing item 11 is HAVA grant money, and then 12 is CARES grant.
We haven't got, the CARES grant is a completely different.
Okay.
Money.
A different thing of money. This is a HAVA Act, Help America Vote Act.
CARES.
With CARES involved. I mean, they were funded from CARES. So this initial $40,000 is CARES related, which is.
For elections.
For elections, and then you've got 2 more sources of funding coming for HAVA, but they're not directly related to CARES. This is about making sure that this $40,000 is tied to the upcoming elections more so than, that's my understanding.
And then the other CARES is for library.
Well, there's 2 other CARES. The CARES, yeah, there's
And then the CARES,
so many
and the
grant
other
funds.
CARES application is the
1.1
the
million.
under 500,000
Yes.
counties and cities.
That's the next item.
Under 500,000.
And most of what we spend on HAVA is all driven by federal mandate.
It's driven by
Some
state
folks
or
may not understand that, but it's
Yeah.
driven by order. We have to meet the HAVA requirements.
either state or federal. I mean, federal mandate, and then they put out something that the state has to follow. So yeah, it's all dictated from up high.
So because it's dictated money, in this case, we certainly should take it because it's going to offset our cost,
Yeah.
taxpayers' cost, direct cost.
And a lot of this is, I know Pam's been working on it to make sure that we're compliant with whatever state or federal practices are coming down for the July runoff election and then the November election as well. And so there'll be some cleaning and some PPE and everything else that'll have to take place. And We're still trying to get directives on what we can and can't spend this stuff on, but
Well, I noticed this says high-speed scanners. Could you use this to buy more ballot counters?
Yeah, I think the 40,000 and the 80 we can, if we want to. Just need more room.
And they're sending the money up front. We don't have to ask for reimbursement. We just have to
document.
send a report on what it's been spent on. So the HAVA money can be voting equipment, if we have to hire someone to audit the election. The voter registration system, that's what I was thinking of for the tax office, cybersecurity, and communications.
So you need a motion to,
I need a motion.
A resolution in there,
to
Marianne, or
approve
what?
the resolution, and this is a resolution that was included somewhere in here that that has to have this language in it.
Yeah,
It's-
you sign it down here.
Yeah. The court has to sign.
Where did it go?
It
I
may
mean, I'm
not be
assuming
in
we're
that
going to
package.
take action on it, right?
I'm
So
assuming we are.
Make the appropriate motion
I think you
to,
have to.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hollowell.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Leon Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item number 12 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding CARES Act grant and funding. This is the greater, the one that the governor spoke of last week, last Monday. I put the cost breakdown allocation. This is money that has to be spent on COVID-related items. Now, they're still pushing down a lot of, this is from the CARES Act, there's still a lot of guidance that hasn't come down from the Department of Treasury on what this can and can't be spent on. TDM has a link with about 20 pages of possible funding, expenses and possible expenses that you can spend it on. But this is one of those where all we have to do, or what we do, is basically say we want it and they send us 20% right away, and then the rest of it is a reimbursable. So Cooke County would be allocated up to $1.1 million for COVID-related response. Now, COVID-related response is a broad category. Obviously, the tent and testing and those things that we've done so far, PPE, personnel, those are all justified COVID-related responses. A lot of the computers and some of the stuff we've done in here even would be able to be recuperated from that as well. But it's not just a revenue sharing from the federal government. They're not just sending us money and saying here, but it has to be spent for.
I'd be real careful, because it'll be like FEMA.
your
Yeah.
pilot program.
Pilot program, you need to have a book, exactly what you can spend it on, because if you get too innovative when they audit you.
There's a lot that we don't know, and there's even a push to change the rules retroactively through the upcoming CARES Act 2 bills that are being discussed right now in Congress. And so it's one of those you got to tread lightly on. But basically any expense that we probably have that's not otherwise covered by one of the other grants we've talked about would probably be able to fit under this. So if Pam, if you've got additional cleaning or something that we might have to do for elections that wasn't covered under that, we might be able to use some of these funds for it. Obviously, the part-time people that we have taking temperatures for our county facilities could be paid for out of this. There's some other, we're still trying to get clarification on salaries of existing employees that were substantially involved with COVID response, might be able to be paid for out of this.
Be careful.
I would be concerned using multiple grants to pay one for multiple things, say for, like you said, for Pam. Because FEMA, with the roads, if we got a tech stop program and FEMA program, we can't use both of them on the same road.
Yeah.
I'd be very careful going down
Be very
that
careful.
Yeah.
Another thing I noticed in here is all the towns and cities are going to get money out of this too.
Yes.
Galesburg, Gainesville, Lindsay,
And
Munster.
those are directly to them, that doesn't come through us.
That has
They're cutting
nothing
them
to
a
do-
check directly.
They're cutting them a check
Yeah,
directly,
they get
basically,
their
or
own.
In some of the discussion on our listserv, county listserv, some counties had already, the county judge submitted this on Monday, shortly after the governor made it active, and they had already received their funding. I mean, it's within days, at least a 20% initial allocation. So the funding is available. This is for counties of under $500,000. The counties over $500,000 got theirs directly from the Fed. You'll see Dallas County, Denton County, Tarrant County all got well over $100 million. And just the amount of complexity on what's all involved and what that can and can't be spent on is mind-boggling. But what?
Make sure the auditor's involved.
Of course.
Gee, Shelley, you get more work. Aren't you happy?
But I do need a motion to approve the
So move.
the application, or it's not the application, but the allocation. I have a motion by Commissioner Leon Clement.
Second.
Second by Commissioner John Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0.
You want to skip to 18?
We can, yes, we can. Let's skip down to number 18, which is discussion of COVID-19 operating plan for Cooke County Judiciary for proceedings on or after June 1st of 2020. We do have Judge Haverkamp who's joining us to talk about this. Judge?
And let me give you all a copy of this template. Can you see that it's a copy of that? Okay. As I'm sure that most of you are aware, pursuant to the guidelines from the Texas Supreme Court, the courts have been operating mostly remotely, and that has been working. We've only been doing essential hearings, no in-person hearings, and we started out doing only essential hearings, and those are very limited hearings, temporary restraining orders, protective orders, things that are emergency nature. Remotely, we could have been doing those in person, only if there was no way to do them remotely. We've been able to do those remotely. Effective June 1st, the Office of Court Administration, which is the state agency that operates under the direction of the Supreme Court, is saying that we can begin doing some in-person, non-essential, in-person court proceedings. But under strict guidelines, they point out that as courts, we have a responsibility to take steps to ensure the health and safety of everyone that enters the courts and the court buildings to ensure their safety, because courts have a unique ability to compel participants to attend versus your businesses that may open their doors and people are invited to come in. Courts, on the other hand, can compel people to come in, so that places a unique responsibility on the courts to ensure the health and safety of the public. I intended to participate, and I asked Shelley to participate too, because there are certain supplies that will need to be ordered. A webinar that said prior to the pandemic, 325,000 people is estimated on a daily basis came into the courts in Texas each day on a daily basis. So they have effectively placed the responsibility on the local administrative district judges. I am the local administrative district judge. So what this says is that as the local administrative district judge, I am required to submit to the regional presiding judge, which is, in our case, Judge Evans. He's the presiding judge of the 8th Administrative Judicial Region that governs, which Cooke County is in the 8th Administrative Region. I have to submit to him a plan that he has to approve of and send to the Office of Court Administration before we can begin in-person court proceedings. We are encouraged to continue to do everything that we possibly can remotely, and we will continue to do so. We do our hearings via Zoom conferencing and live stream to YouTube. We have our own YouTube channel, and that actually has been working out pretty well, and I do intend to continue to do that. But the reason I'm bringing it to your attention, our plan has to be, I have to consult with the county judge and the local health authority, which I do intend, as I understand, is Dr. Lewis, and I've reached out to him I have to submit with my plan that they have been consulted. They don't have to approve the plan, but they have been consulted. I am meeting this week with all of the judges. I'm meeting with Judge Morris and Judge Henry and Judge Johnson, and meeting with Judge Vaughn, who is the Child Protection Court Associate Judge, and Judge Dockery, who's the Child Support Judge. And I'm meeting with the County Attorney, Mr. Zielinski, and the people in the District Attorney's Office to get their input. But if you will look at the template, that, and of course it is a template that they give me that to operate off of, you will see that there are some mandates in there. It appear to be mandates that are pretty strict. Judges and court staff will be required to wear a face covering, practice social distancing, practice appropriate hygiene, and other things, court schedules, where I think it's going to impact the county. If you'll look at page 2, and I think when and I've talked to my administrative judge, I've talked to him today, and he wanted us to wait until the OCA came up with guidelines for how we're going to do jury trials. They were supposed to have that done by mid-May. They haven't. The Office of Court Administration, as some of you may know, was cyber attacked. And so they've been down, and he says, and I talked to him an hour ago, he doesn't expect that they're going to have guidelines for jury trials until much later, and we won't begin jury trials until much later. Jury trials are going to be a horse of a different color. I don't know when we're going to be able to start those up. Some of the things that we may be looking at is having the regional presiding judge designate the Civic Center as the courthouse for the day, and we can pick a jury there. Those are just ideas that we've been talking about. But for the other in-person hearings, these guidelines, as you can see, or this template, doesn't just talk about courtrooms, it talks about court buildings. And I'm sure when they were drawing these guidelines up that they were thinking about the larger counties that had court buildings that just had courtrooms in it, but not our smaller rural counties that have everything. Like we have the county clerk, people come for marriage licenses, people come to get their car tags. But the plan I'm supposed to come up with, according to this, not just addresses the courtrooms, it addresses the court buildings. I talked to him about that today. I said, surely, allowances would have to be made because, there's a difference. And what I have, I've been kind of working on that this weekend, because if you will look, it says that everyone, where is it? Anybody that comes into on the last page, all individuals entering the court building will be required to wear face coverings at all times. Individuals will be encouraged to bring a cloth face covering with them, but if the individual does not have a cloth face covering, a disposable face mask will be provided. Individuals who will be required to be in the court building for over an hour will be provided surgical masks and required to wear them while in the court building. I'm just asking for input here. One of the things I thought of this weekend is we could have, but that entails more employees. We could have 2 entrances entrances. People that are coming just to go to the courts come in one entrance. People that are coming to go to other parts of the courthouse, that are coming here voluntarily, can come in another entrance. But just some of these that I think that we need to be aware of. Obviously, the social distancing, no more than 2 individuals not of the same household in the elevator. I don't know who's going to govern that. And here's another one. I don't know if you're going to have a restroom police. Each restroom, maximum capacity posted on each restroom door. Public common areas, including break rooms and snack rooms, closed to the public. Maximum number of persons permitted in the gallery. Maximum capacity of the courtroom. I'm going to have the courtroom measured out and taped off. Seating is limited to every other row, 6 feet spacing. Hand sanitizer dispensers, and I understand we have ordered what I call them, the cruise ship sanitizers, that they have to be outside the building, the elevators on each floor, outside of each courtroom, outside of the bathroom. Tissues near the door of the courtroom, at counsel table, at the witness stand, on the judge's bench, and in the hallways. The infrared thermometer, staff screening, have to have protective equipment and gloves and masks. And then, I don't know if Rick is here.
He just stepped out, he was behind you.
He was there, but he's gone.
He may keep walking if he hears this. Court building will clean the common areas of the court building every so many hours. Between every hearing, between morning and afternoon proceedings, at the end of each day. They will be given the appropriate cleaning supplies and trained. So it's pretty comprehensive. Here's Rick. Cleaning staff will clean the courtrooms between every hearing, between morning and afternoon proceedings. And at the end of each day. But anyway, so this is just a template, and I said I'm talking, and I've talked to some other rural judges, and everybody is having the same issues. We don't have to start in-person proceedings June 1st. That's the earliest we can start. We cannot start until this plan has been approved by our regional presiding judge and submitted to the OCA. So I, at this point, am meeting with everyone and seeking input, and any discussion or input would be gladly accepted. I don't know, what is your thoughts about, well, and it does, and I for sure am going to have to, and when I'm talking to him this morning, he says for sure the judge, everybody in my offices, courts and the court staff, he said that's probably a non-negotiable, we'll have to wear masks. And I'm not sure about they recommend plexiglass between the judge and the witness. Our witness box is movable, so I'm not sure I'm going to do that, because I think I can move that witness box far enough away. And I don't foresee in the foreseeable future that we're going to use that jury box for juries. I don't know if and when we will have juries that we're going to be able to have them in that courtroom. So, any questions? I'm full of questions myself. I don't have any answers, but I will just tell you I have to, as the local presiding district judge, administrative judge, I have to come up with a plan, and it's going to involve everybody, perhaps all the courthouse buildings, and anybody have a bright idea, I'd be happy to hear it.
Judge, appreciate you bringing this to our attention. I know it's kind of an ongoing theme with all this COVID stuff. Everybody's got more questions than answers on any of it. I just got a text message from Kevin who said that there may be some concern about the quantity of surgical mask availability if we're needed to provide that to all patrons coming in. I know that's one of the answers we're going to help find a solution to.
The mixed messages on the mask are.
Yeah, Well, when you said over 300,000.
I got one in my pocket, you know,
Yeah.
I don't.
But when you said over 300,000 people a day come to the courts in the state of Texas, I think you answered the question, what's going to happen? They're going to have to do something.
Yeah,
We got to start back up
And,
now.
and
This-
because we can compel them to come, you
Yeah.
know, it's not their choice a lot of
Yeah,
times.
but that grant money we're just talking about, that's for COVID. Surely we can hire people, extra people to do the cleaning while this is going on, temporaries like we're doing at the doors. And
Yeah, and that's
That
exactly
sort of
what
thing.
those funds can be used for, so that's probably the least of the
Least of the problems.
issues.
The availability for the mask may be the big issue.
That is probably one of the bigger issues. If it's not available, it's not available.
Judge,
Every
there might-
business is trying to get the disposable masks.
Everybody's in the same boat.
Something we might consider as if we would treat the courtrooms just like we do with the license to carry stuff. In other words, let's not try to, we could continue to screen temperatures at the door and catch everybody coming in. That's simple enough. You get them all that way as far as the screening. So we're not setting up screenings for each separate courtroom, county, district, things of that nature. But go back in parallel what they've done with license to carry into courts or offices that directly support the courts on these things where you have to have hand sanitizers, where you have to have masks. That can't be unique, I wouldn't think, to the state, or to Cooke County, because we do it somewhat different than a lot of the other counties where we don't secure the whole courthouse. In other words, you said your concern is probably the people that's putting this out think we're one big courthouse. So we might go back and say, hey, we have an example where we treat license to carry folks entering the courthouse different than we do the courtrooms. That makes sense?
Yeah, but like the webinar, the webinar is pretty specific about you got to treat the court building because the people that get on the elevator, they may not get on the courtroom floor, the floor where the courtroom is, but they're gonna.
Well, I don't know what we do on the elevators, but
Yeah.
as far as the
Yeah.
temperature screening, we can continue to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, you have to-
We get everybody.
Yeah.
But we need to find a solution to avoid masking everyone.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
we might
Yeah, I
go
can
back
see
and
that,
approach
yeah.
them and say, hey, the only people we want to mask is those folks that's going to enter a courtroom.
Yeah.
Or an
Yeah.
office that directly supports the court,
Yeah.
district clerks.
I could.
Your offices,
Yeah.
and we could go back, like I said, as an example, and parallel what's happening with license to carry.
Yeah.
And incorporate some of the same guidelines.
I think probably what will be the key is if the local health official will approve that, because in talking with Judge Evans, he said that will be the key.
Because it's going to vary from county to county. I mean, we're sitting here with what, 3 active cases right now, and
Yeah.
nobody hospitalized,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
why did you say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah.
So we probably don't need the same guidelines that they need in Harris County.
right, yeah, and talking with Judge Evans, as a matter of fact, he did tell me, he said, you know, he's got to approve it, and what's key to him is what your local health official, if it passes muster with our local health official,
Well, then that might work out just fine.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but we need some ideas to go forward.
Gotta have some
If we
ideas.
just go ask,
No.
I mean, we've seen this too many times, we just go ask, and you've got people that are going to provide you an opinion, right or wrong.
But I know
One size doesn't fit all.
this conversation's on the county judge listserv is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Everybody's having that same conversation.
yeah, you know, it puts the responsibility on the local administrative
Yeah.
district judge. I mean, are they having the same conversation when it really, you know, it's the county judge is for the courthouse? I mean,
And that's, that's the conversation that's continuing to happen.
the county judges are saying, hey, that's our responsibility.
Which,
The district judge is saying, great, that's your responsibility. You can have
And I
it.
get it, if they're subpoenaed, you've compelled them, I think we got to meet whatever
Yeah,
it needs. I mean, we
yeah,
can't ask them to go, I wouldn't even go ask them to purchase a mask if we're the one telling them they have to be here.
Yeah.
For instance, so I think you got to meet that, you got to meet the hand sanitizer and all those things for those folks. But if there's 325,000 come into the courtrooms, think how many come into the courthouses, and before you know it, the PPE is exhausted. The
Yeah.
problem's going to be getting the PPE, and if, we might not have an in-person jury trial for the next 100 years if
Yeah.
you try to put masks on
Yeah.
every individual that walks in quote-unquote courthouse.
Oh, we had a grand jury meet, and, because the grand jury was an exception to because prior, in there, an exception, they're an essential, and they were an exception to the, you could only have 10 people when we were, you could do in person, but less than 10. But I required them to wear a mask, and that was not pretty either.
Some just simply didn't want to. Yeah.
So it sounds like you need to get Dr. Lewis on board with your
Yeah,
ideas.
I've got a message into him.
I heard on the radio today, this morning, that there is one court here in the state of Texas that's going to do a jury trial
Collin County,
on Zoom,
and that I'd like to see.
and it'd be nice to see how that all happens.
Because Collin County said they're going to do a Zoom.
That'd be entertaining at least.
I wonder how many times they'll get
How do you
hacked.
keep a jury? You advise them not to talk with anybody and not to, get any outside information. I don't know how you control that via Zoom.
I saw it on
I'm
TV on
interested.
All Rise, a week or so ago, so I'm sure it can happen.
The radio announcers were
While I'm
having
here,
a
I
field
want
day
to give
with
a
it.
shout out to IT because they have absolutely worked miracles. We have conducted so many hearings via Zoom, and they have been able to educate us on doing that, and you can teach an old dog new tricks because they have been very helpful and have gone above and beyond. So, okay, that's all I have. If anybody has any questions, and I think Ray, I'll consult with you too. I'll give you one of these, and if you have anything to add. And let me know, and I'll come up with the solution.
Is this something that we would have to have a workshop or something to discuss?
What?
Because is this something that we'd need to have a workshop on? There's so many different,
I tell you what, I'm meeting
Thanks.
with all the judges and the prosecutors, and I'm gonna come up with a rough draft, and I'll meet with Doug Lewis and Judge Brinkley, and, if y'all would,
It sounds like because it's coming to the courts, they can dictate it to us if they
Yeah,
want
but
to.
if
So
y'all-
we
if
can
y'all
have a
would like
workshop,
for
and
me to-
everybody.
If y'all would like for me to come back with the final,
That would be
That'd be,
nice.
yeah, just to make sure we got it,
Yeah.
everything
Yeah, I-
as far as,
like I said, my administrative judge did not want the final plan until they came up with the guidelines for a jury trial, because most of what we do is dependent on a jury trial, and we work back from that on our court hearings. But I don't know when that's coming.
And of course, whatever you decide is going to drive our budgets and tax dollars, so if you will work it from a most practical standpoint, get as much help as we can get from our health professionals, so that, if they come in, if they come in here and tell everybody we got to start wearing masks, and you do that for everybody in the courthouse, that's going to get some pushback from somebody.
but if we need to have additional part-timers clean or something, that's
Yeah,
not a big,
that's
we've
no-brainer.
gotten CARES Act funds specifically for that, so that's not the,
Yeah,
the
and
driver.
PPE is not the issue if you can get it,
If you can get it.
Well, I guess immediately, I guess we'll be ordering every other Q measure and all of that.
and somebody could be ordering some masks. If you
We-
can find any out there.
We have 5,000 disposable on order.
Okay.
On order, which you don't know
We
when.
don't know yet, will it be back ordered or?
They'll be here at 5/28.
Okay, as far as we know.
As far as we know.
Okay.
And then Office Depot let us, even though they were out of stock, they let us order Perel hand sanitizer, and they'll ship them when they come in, but they let us do an order.
The stands, you were able to get.
No, the little bottles.
But we are getting the
And then we are getting
The
the,
Cintas, right?
yes, and we are getting the stands that you put your hand under, and it automatically dispenses without touching it. Those are coming sometime after the 1st of June. And we're checking on wipes. Then these are for the offices.
And of course, one of these, you said surgical mask, well, that's probably a whole different beast, is that the equivalent?
Yeah, it made a difference, and I don't know myself what the difference is. If they're just coming in, they're encouraged to bring a cloth mask. If they're just coming in, they don't have a cloth mask, then they're to be given a disposable mask. But if they're gonna be here over an hour, they're to be given a surgical mask. I don't know the difference. I don't know the difference in a surgical mask.
That would be
and a
those
disposable mask.
N95s.
No,
wouldn't it?
N95 is not a surgical mask. A surgical mask it's actually a lower standard than the N95.
Yeah, but I think it's a step above just
But it's a
plain
step
dust
above
dust
the-
mask. You
yeah,
go buy
dust-
these little,
Yeah.
most of them are white, but you go buy these little cup-looking dust masks. Some of them are just
Yeah, it's a
dust.
step above that.
Surgical masks have another layer in there but they're not as good as the N95s. They don't filter quite as good.
Well, sound like you need some of those too, Shelley.
Just order a bunch of everything when it comes to masks.
Pretty much
Now,
it.
as far as John talking about having a workshop, I don't know if we need a workshop, not about this, but we ought to, when we get to the point where all these grants are coming from, we ought to have a special section on a meeting and discuss all the grants we're getting and the rules and regulations, so
Yeah,
an idea of,
if you look, half of our agenda is grants, so I thought about trying
Yeah.
to change that up on the agenda a little bit to have that more broader discussion.
Of course,
Thank
it's
you.
like Jason
Thanks,
said the other day, it's kind of like
Thank you.
drinking from a fire hydrant.
Yeah. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Judge. You know, you can, information overload, and it all runs together.
It all runs together.
yeah, but you better try to keep track of it.
We'll jump back up. Item number 13 is deliberate, consider possible action regarding annex remodel. We have carpet. Microphone.
Oh, that was the other annex remodel.
No CPS court.
That's the CP, yeah, they're kind of on there twice, but, okay.
No, we do not have, we do have carpet samples from one company from.
But we don't have
Stevens Floor
pricing
Cover.
or anything just
Don't
yet.
have pricing. They want us to pick one and they'll price it.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be getting samples from Joe Walter Lumber also.
Who? Joe
Joe
Walter?
Walter Lumber also. It's the two local vendors that do carpet.
Do we have a color?
I'm sorry.
Bet.
But we do have
Got lots of
color.
colors.
So, all those squares in the office didn't mean anything.
Always remember something. I was inserting myself to pick the color because you all would have sat here for 2 hours and never come up with a color.
Nope.
I have, oh, no, this is under your purview. He answers to you. I picked out a color several times, and I've got a color picked on the samples that we have, but he informs me we don't have the samples. So I'm way ahead of the game.
I had the sample picked out over here up against the wall before court even started that morning.
Y'all all sound like a bunch of bureaucrats to me.
Be careful.
And we still don't have any carpet.
It's still not done.
He reports back to the judge, so you have to ask the judge why he doesn't have any carpet.
Well, so what happens if the colors come back different? So you're going to have to repick colors?
I don't know.
All right, 13 will be no action. We'll wait for some cost. Item 14 is deliberate, consider status and future needs of CPS court and consider any possible action regarding the same. Other than carpet, we're good to go over the.
The wall has been completed, except for the door knob hardware. The locksmith is working on getting, we had to buy one more doorknob that matches everything that's over there. He's getting that. Everything else is done.
Everything's done.
And of course, everything we're doing over here for hand sanitizer stations and
Yeah,
all that.
that's, we need to.
Be mirrored.
And I think when we ordered the little hand sanitizer stations, we ordered enough for the annex and for the Justice Center too, because there's courts there.
There is one thing that has not been done that needs to be done. We need an exit sign on that door that takes us toward the actual emergency exit.
Yeah, toward Dixon Street.
We covered an emergency exit. We have.
You have to put a sign
Be a
there.
panic bar on it, and we do have to put an exit sign there. That I'll get that in the works.
Okay, good. 14 will be no action. 15, deliberate, consider possible renovations to DPS building. This is part of a conversation that I had with DPS personnel, I believe back in January. They approached us about, right now, if you're familiar with it, they've got 2 terminals in there. They want to expand that and change up the makeup and expand that to basically double it. And what they want to do is rip out that counter and then put in little individual terminals. The discussion was if we paid to have that ripped out, that platform and that counter ripped out, they would take care of putting in new terminals, but it would double the capacity of being able to serve those individuals coming in there.
Are they going to put that many, 2 new people?
They got
into
two,
that?
they got 4 people that are assigned to that office, so, and I don't.
When do they think they're going to open that back up?
They are supposedly opening it up as soon as today by appointment only.
Oh, really?
But I hadn't seen anything. I talked to them about a week ago. They said they were going to try to follow similar to what everybody else was doing, but they're going to do it by appointment only. So You're not going to have more than, they've got a list of state criteria. They're not going to have more than 2 or 3 people in there at any one time, and they're doing it by setting their schedule 30 or minutes an hour in between each one, or whatever that may be.
Well, I saw where they were going to take appointments, but they didn't give any contact information of how you could make an appointment.
Yeah.
Have you seen a drawing?
I have not seen a drawing, because all they're wanting from us is to rip out that platform and counter.
Oh, but your platform, you're talking about the raised area that they sit on.
That they sit on, and then they're going to put little individual.
So they're not going to take that petition out and go through that manhole door to buy them any space?
They're not adding,
north and
no,
south.
all they want us to do is remove that, and Rick, feel free to interject in here, but just basically remove that counter that they're sitting at now. The only question we have is wiring in there.
Right.
And I think that there's,
Well, the way I read the email, they want that counter out, that little wall that's there, and the closet that's in that corner.
That's what I'm thinking too. Yeah, that's the way I read it.
Well, it says the partial wall and the closet.
So we would tear everything out and just leave
it open.
just walls.
But they're going to have a door somewhere in there to get back in behind it, right? Assuming that they're going to access it that way?
They're going to bring modular furniture in, and they're responsible for all that, is the way I understand it.
But when you go in that access door, where's the closet from there? In other words, if you go through the entry door into the door that goes back where the officers have desk, with the
Closet's on
keyboards.
your left. So closet's on the south wall.
To the south of that door.
Yes. It's like a 2 feet deep, 4 feet wide closet.
And we don't have anything in that. We're not using it. That
No,
be
that's
something
their storage.
theirs too.
Well, if we're going to tear it all up and they're going to put it all back, they're not going to be opening anytime soon.
well,
Well, if
that's
they do
why,
modular, it probably won't be a big deal.
Won't be a big
Modular
deal.
furniture.
Yeah, it'll be a
The wiring will be the big deal.
The only question that I have is what's under that platform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. If there's conduit, electrical wiring, then we may have to
Yeah,
get
where
an
does it go?
electrician there.
Yeah.
But other than that, other than some paint, maybe little patching walls, which we can do, that's the only expense that I see, and just time for us to tear it out.
If there's something under that platform, are they going to take care of it, or are we going to take care of it?
we're going to take care of it.
In other words, tile, or if you have to put tile.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
we have to
Whatever
do
we
some-
have to do to make it. I'm assuming that it's terrazzo, that whole floor is terrazzo. I'm assuming it's terrazzo all the way to the wall. I don't know that.
It should be.
It should be.
And that platform's been there all the way from the bank, or did we put the platform up there?
Been here since I've been here.
Let's see.
That's all I know.
Be interesting.
So we need to get started on that
Yes,
quickly.
Yeah, well,
Assuming there's a deadline on that also. We're working on sneeze guards right now. Deadline was
seeing
today
as
on
how you and I talked with them in January, and just now I said, send me something in writing on what you're requesting, and it's now May. I do want to get on it, but
Right.
the sneeze guards, I think, are higher priority, and then turn to this after.
If everything goes well, the sneeze guards will all be in today, this
Okay.
week.
Okay.
Not today, this week.
But you're going to have to coordinate with them, because if
We're
they're
gonna have to
having
coordinate with
appointments,
them
we can't be in
anyway,
there tearing it out, so.
Yeah. Which the ideal time to do this would have been a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
When all this started, we could have had it all done, but
Well, you're telling me they are open by appointments now?
they're supposed to be opening, she said that they were planning on opening today, but I don't know.
There were-
They may end up delaying that till June 1st,
There were a line of people down the sidewalk at 7 o'clock this morning.
over here.
Over here.
Or over here.
Here,
I know
they
there's
had a
over
line
here.
too. Yeah.
But they were supposed to be taking appointments and only letting people in by appointment.
I wonder how many of them are actually citizens of Cooke County, because I read the last paragraph, and it says, "The joint goal is to provide citizens in Cooke County the best possible service." And when I went and renewed my driver's license, out of the 30 people that were in line, there was 3 of us that's from Cooke County.
Yeah, it'd been
Everybody else is
interesting,
from Denton County.
I think that's a pretty accurate daily figure on that.
Wait a minute, Rick. Don't go away, please. So who's going to coordinate this when you're going to start, so they know we're coming if they're actually open? So I'm a little confused about we're going to rip the guts out of that place, being that you're telling me that they're open by appointment only, or they're making appointments with people, and you're just gonna walk in with a sledgehammer one day and
Question, I
start
mean,
tearing it up.
They're not going to be able to operate while we're,
No, so,
And I don't mind coordinating.
Well,
with
somebody
the
needs to-
office on it, that's not a big problem.
Because they're going to have to communicate to the public. It's
Yeah, they're gonna have to
closed.
close down for a few
Yeah.
days or whatever that takes to do it all.
Well, they'll need to have their furniture and everything that they're gonna put in on,
And then ready to
They need to
do.
coordinate all that.
No, I mean, even if we say, hey, we're on board with this, it's gonna take them a little time. So like I said, that's why this isn't front-end project, because there's gonna take some behind-the-scenes coordinating before that happens. You know, maybe even wait till the fall when the second, round of, no, sorry.
Well, but we can take an action.
No, yes,
Do
I
we
want-
collectively agree that we want to go forward with the renovations?
Yes, and
Make the
then-
motion. That's a motion that we.
second,
We got a motion by Commissioner Hollowell, seconded by Commissioner Leon Clement, and we'll coordinate on making that happen. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0.
because if we wouldn't do that, 6 months from now, we'd be still looking for carpet.
Item 16 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding county transportation infrastructure fund grant.
I'd make the motion, we submit it.
We got an application that's been handed out.
Yeah.
I think
But,
it's substantially
we
the same
talked
as last.
about this 2 weeks ago. Just because they're in that order submitted doesn't mean that it's, first
It has to
precinct
go
gets
in
all the goodie.
I just made some corrections to spelling.
So
So
the
it's-
court recognizes that, and I know we do, but one person doesn't go exhaust the funds beyond their 25% until such time we find out that we get more money. That's my motion.
Is that a motion?
What?
I think
I
you
said,
made a
you can't go
motion.
spend more than 25% until we find out if we get additional funds.
I can't go spend more than 25%.
Seeking a
Of the-
reimbursement
Of
from
the grant. Right now, there's
Well, okay, I think you're maybe getting a little concerned about nothing, but if I got a road I'm working on and I got to finish half of it and I'm going to go over it, I'm not going to stop and wait for the rest of everybody else to get their projects done to finish a road. I may not turn it in.
But see, well, yeah, I mean, I don't care. You can't submit more than 25% because and that's exactly my concern, not that you would do this, but if you go in here and do the first road that you got on the books, well, you could do the first, 5 roads and use up.
But I don't think the auditor's going to allow us to do that, so.
no.
Well, but, yeah, we all get my point, is,
He doesn't trust you?
doesn't have it, this says in writing that in theory, the top 5 roads on this priority list are precinct 4 roads.
Gary, I wasn't worried about you. I don't know what.
Well, I think that we should have just ended that. Gary made the motion to approve the.
I second it.
Second by Commissioner Leon Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item number 17, deliberate and consider possible action regarding FEMA grant 2015 flood.
They still love us.
I don't think we have anything new on that. But 17
Still waiting on an extension. We filed
I'm
the last
interested to see
paper.
what item 19 is, if it's a surprise.
Which one?
It says untitled on mine.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, on your, okay. I was
Yeah,
like,
it says
no.
untitled.
18, we already discussed. 19 is executive session in compliance with Texas Open Meetings Act 551 of the Government Code.
So it is a surprise.
It's executive session, so therefore, yeah. It is 11:04, and we will recess into executive as soon as everybody leaves. Okay, it is 11:25 and we are back in regular session. Item number 20 is deliberate and consider any possible action regarding FEMA grant for COVID-19. I don't believe we have anything new on the FEMA grant portion of that. Item number 21 is deliberate and consider any possible action regarding public health emergency declaration for COVID-19. Do want to let everyone know that the plan is for the testing that is going on out behind NTMC, that will conclude this Friday, will be the last day. After that, the providers will be undergoing testing in their facilities themselves. A big part of that is the number of tests that we're doing on a weekly basis has steadily declined. Less and less people are utilizing that because of various reasons. Some providers are providing that already in their clinics and businesses. Others, it's just simply not as many people having symptoms or needing tests. But testing will continue in Cooke County. It'll just be provider-driven tests for provided in their facilities. If anybody out there that potentially doesn't have health insurance, reach out to the providers. There is some mechanisms in there to help cover some of those costs, or those costs will be covered. Various providers are participating in that. So just because you may be uninsured, don't think that that's a reason not to get a test. Contact one of the local providers and they'll help you get set up on that. That's all I've got, unless anybody else has anything else on 21.
Anybody anticipating what the governor's going to say this week?
He's supposed to have something I saw this afternoon at 2 o'clock, supposed to be another press conference, so.
Press conference?
We'll see. There may be on the stage 2 portion that's supposed to start any day now. So we'll know when we know. Item 22 is personnel matters. I don't have anything on personnel. Future, go ahead.
As far as personnel and the temporary workers, part-time workers, all this stuff, if the courts are getting ramped up, so you're ready to go with all of that?
It's posted. We're taking applications now, so we can turn that on.
How many do we anticipate we'd need?
Don't know. We were able to use some of the ones that we've been using for the tent to fill in now for temperature takers now. But if we need additional, I mean, that's kind of part of the reason why we have that application out there too.
We just need to be sure we got somebody staffed up, so if for some reason,
Yeah.
and while those temps can't show up, we have to go pull a bailiff back just about the
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
they're needed in the
To
courtroom.
backfill any vacancies.
I'd
or
rather
anything.
have plenty on hand.
Yeah,
I don't know how
that's-
the correct, well, plenty on hand, plenty available to.
Plenty available to backfill any
yeah.
gaps. That's understanding. We're continuing to work in that process, but the part-timers are currently doing temperatures at courthouse and courthouse annex effective today. Item 23 is future agenda items. Just to let everybody know, did get notice on Friday that Home Hospice wants to put 100 small U.S. flags on our lawn beginning Friday. That's not going to make it on court, but I'm giving them the okay, but we'll ratify that next court. Anything else?
And you're going to coordinate with DPS
Yes.
on the remodel?
Yep.
All right. I move to adjourn.
We have a motion by Commissioner Leon Clement,
Second.
second by Commissioner John Clement. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, gentlemen.